Hello, hello, hello. Black Bean Samson here today. This is Christmas. Merry Christmas to all. Everybody, how's everyone doing today, this fine day? Hope you guys are having a nice white Christmas. It is a good day where I'm at. And what we're going to talk about, some Christian news. Christian news. You know, it was long overdue as some type of, well, relief act for Christians. I've been constantly hearing in the Middle East. I'm not sure exactly if it was in these two areas, Iraq and Syria, but hey, these are two good starts. If this is the only places, then cool. But I'm pretty sure it's happening other places. But Christians have been displaced all throughout Middle East. I mean, if you go back just in the last 100 years, there was a lot of nation states essentially in the Middle East that were essentially all dominated by Christians. Well, it's completely reversal now. Why that is? Well, I mean, there's other political things about that, ideologies that are more dominant due through aggressive tactics, whatnot. Um, the the allowing of a more aggressive theology to take a foothold rather than putting a stop to it. I mean, there's been a bunch of things, and I'm not no professional on the history of all the essentially the wars and inner conflicts that have happened throughout the Middle East, but well, one thing has been definitely overdue. I'd say definitely the last 8 years that, to my knowledge, Obama never signed anything, never actually gave any type of help to Christians. And to be honest, I don't think any other country so far besides Russia, I think, is the only other country that's at all helped any forms of Christians. In Russia case, it's with the whites down in South America, I'm pretty sure that they're majority Christians. So that's why I automatically put them into that category. So this, I mean, it's really interesting, and there's been pretty much silence on this. So I just want to kind of go through this real quick because I got just a little two other things I want to go over. This is pretty much a little Christian news thing I want to have. I'm gonna try to lump some news together because there's so much out there, and I think there's so much that at least people should just know about so they can go out and look. I could talk about one thing constantly, but or one thing just about that article for 10 minutes, but I think it'd be nicer to show you a bunch of articles kind of within that category of stuff. This is about Christian stuff, so we'll see what happens here. See if anybody likes it. Oh, I like it. So, President Donald Trump signed a law on Tuesday combating genocide of Christians in the Middle East. Legislation supported by the Knights of Columbus and broad array of faith-based organizations. Because this is long overdue. This is long overdue. Christians are being systematically wiped out of Syria and Iraq, along with other religious minorities in part of the Middle East. Representative Chris Smith of New Jersey and former Representative Frank Wolf of Virginia spearheaded the passage of H.R. 390, the Iraq and Syria Genocide Relief and Accountability Act of 2018, which the president signed in an Oval Office ceremony. Both congressmen stood with the president as he signed the bill. The future of endangered religious and ethnic minority targeted by ISIS for genocide and pluralism in the Middle East will depend on help from the United States, said Smith. I'm not going to show you this little clip here, but Supreme Knight Carl Anderson represented the Knights of Columbus in the ceremony of Catholic Fraternal Order has allocated $20 million to provide relief of Christians and other religious minorities, including $2 million to rebuild Carmela's a town in Iraq that ISIS has destroyed. With the legislation signed today, America speaks with bold moral clarity and political unanimity, said Anderson, adding the historical perspective that this law reminded us of America's earlier efforts to aid victims of genocide, Christian community targeted by Ottomans a century ago, and Jewish survivors of Shoah. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm not really never. I think that's like my second time I've ever seen that word, to be honest. But the Knight of Columbus is the largest Catholic man of service and organization in the world. The President Trump representative to Vatican Ambassador Celesta Gingrich and Archbishop Bashar Wada of Erbil, Iraq, were also present at the White House. So this stuff, when I'm like looking, I'm like, am I reading stuff from like Star Wars? Like, it's just interesting. It's a really interesting name. But anyways, 20 million, huh? Well, I mean, at least they got some aid to them. Hopefully, we help Christians in the Middle East as much as possible. I feel that we need to really bring most Christians from the Middle East out of there and let things settle down there. Let it settle things. I mean, I don't know, like, to try to keep Christians in an area that are constantly getting attacked because other groups have within their doctrine essentially, if you don't follow them, that they attack you. I mean, it's kind of like, well, why would you want to be in that area? It's kind of hard to understand. But, you know, for, like, this guy down here said it, and that's why I was kind of hovering over him. It is pretty interesting why there's been so much resistance in America on a law like this. And I wanted to just point out that I believe there is so much resistance is because of there are more people romanticizing about theology, especially being a Christian. There is more Christians, fake Christians, ever. I mean, it's like one of those things that we do to feel good. We don't really practice it, but we just do it and act like it, and then we constantly rewrite what has been said or what is supposedly needs to be taught or how it should be taught. I mean, you know, most religions out there do not have. If you have a hierarchy, the sexes do not at all share the same hierarchies. They're separated. But if you look into Christianity, it has allowed both sexes to carry the same hierarchy titles now. So when is the Pope going to soon be a woman? That's and to be honest, I find to be an actual problem. There's a huge problem with that. That's, you know, like for Christians, it's supposed to be essentially God over Christ, Christ over man, man over woman, woman over children. I mean, this is how there's supposed to be a hierarchy, and that's an order. And that order brings a certain goodness and richness to developing a family and a community. And this is why fundamentally America and the other Western nations that are mostly Christians, white Christian nations that have just fundamentally been crumbled because that has not been followed. When you don't follow a certain hierarchy order, a natural order, things crush down. And this is why people are flocking to radical Islamic religions. I mean, that's exactly why. Is because they have an order, and it's set in place. Women, you'll have Islamic women that act like they are equal to their men. That's totally wrong, and does not teach that in their doctrine. And they don't teach that at their synagogues or wherever you want to call them, their place of worship. Like they just don't practice that. And even if women try to act like that, they know it. This is why they're flocking to Muslims. Because they truly subconsciously want to be treated naturally in the natural order of things. I mean, it's just the way it's the way nature is, and I wish people, especially these people that are so-called, nature loving, blah blah blah. If they would really actually get back to their root nature of humanity, I mean, they would really realize what they have actually been trying to push, which is totally against human nature. So I want to move on real quick. I've already gone too long, already 10 minutes. That one topic, like I said, it's so easy. But that Christian baker down in Colorado, they're after him again. And instead of 2 LGBT women, lesbians, it's transsexual. So essentially, I believe it's a man who converted over to a woman, and he's saying no to that. And the Colorado courts are allowing it for him to get to be sued. So he has to fight again, once again, after the Supreme Court has ruled that in his religious belief, he can deny people of any reason if it has something against his religion. And Colorado wants to try it again. I mean, it's insane. These people in Colorado are insane. They do not care about their small businesses. Let the community decide. You don't need the courts to decide. If people don't want his cakes, let them stop buying from him. You don't need to sue him out of existence. That's cheap. That is heartless. That is being dishonest to a system that this is why we don't have no faith in a justice system. A justice system goes after people like this, but doesn't go after people like Hillary, for one. I mean, that's it. We know for a fact on so many levels there's been so many obstructions, so many laws that have been broke, and yet it's just no time. I mean, let's just talk about them. Nobody needs to even get arrested. People will be at least like, well, you know what? We'll have to set up preventive measures so that this doesn't happen again. So people like this person just doesn't ever happen again. I'm fine. No one goes to jail. At least be honest about it. And that's the thing here. Like, let's just be honest about this. You're going after this guy not because he's saying no. It's because he's a Christian and he's using his religion that you hate to say no to your guys' ridiculousness. I commend this guy. This guy I tip my hat to. He stands on his principles, and I think in every way he should have right to tell you to go fuck off if he wants to. It's his business. It's his art that he designed. It's his art. It's like him. It's like you going up to a sculptor and being like, "I want you to sculpt me something," and if you don't sculpt it the way I want it, I'm going to sue you. Or a painter. If you don't paint the way I want you to paint, I get to sue you. I mean, isn't that outrageous? I mean, this is what baffles me. Just because he's a cake maker doesn't make him subject to suddenly at your whims. I mean, that's some slavery-like mentality type stuff out there. These are all crazy, these liberals. I got so progressive that I am unprogressive now. It's so strange. Yeah, so a ruling of 7-2. And you'd think the Colorados would be like, well, we have no chance at a 7-2. I mean, that's how these people just want to attack him for his money. So hopefully he gets to turn around and just sue the living crap out of not just this tranny, but this Colorado officials, knowing that they're going against a Supreme Court ruling. Like, why would you even attempt at least at the same guy? You know, that's targeting. That's political. At this point, how can you not sue them for a hate crime too? Like, you hate my religion, which is why you're attacking me. I mean, at some point, I believe that's hate. There's no way that what else would drive it. So, for one last thing, before the 15 minutes, Israel booms with babies as developed world's birth rate plummets. Here's why. Israel is not the only developed country to subsidize parenthood, so why is the birth rate's outlier? The century of the family is one of the reasons are the tribalism, nationalism, and the fulfillment of historic imperative. This is what we need to bring back, white people. White Christian people, you need to bring back essentially your tribalism, nationalism, and fulfillment. You need to make sure your Christian communities are strong again like they once were, and your nationalism for this country, the patriotism. I mean, you need that, like Amish, like Mormons, like those people. And then you need to like make sure your historic monuments and stuff don't get torn down just because someone goes, it hurts my feelings. All right, if you like this podcast, please like and subscribe. If you didn't like this podcast, please still like and subscribe. Comment down below for advice, just want to talk, tell me F off, whatever's on your mind. Tell me Merry Christmas. And Merry Christmas. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.